So today I am working on processing the rest of the watermelon that we got before they start to go bad. I have one that had a real soft spot on it, so I was like, I gotta do something with these, or we finally did grow some that did not have blossom rot, and I don't want them to go to waste. So I'm going ahead and putting them through my food mill here that I had bought for processing tomatoes, and it separates the seeds from the juice. And this is what I've got for juice so far. I'm probably gonna end up with maybe between about 1.5 gallons of juice, I'm gonna say, by the time I'm done. And then I will go ahead and pour them into the freeze-dry trays, and I'm going to pre-freeze them for a couple hours in our freezer in the garage, and then put them in the freeze dryer for preserving. I ended up with almost 1 gallon, well, a little over 1 gallon. So now I'm just going to take them out into the freezer out in the garage and pour them into the trays. My mother didn't name me Grace for a reason. If I try and pour them and then carry them out as liquid, it wouldn't turn out nice. So I'm going to go ahead and pour them once they're in the freezer, and then leave them there for a couple hours before they go into the freeze dryer. I'm probably going to get about 6 trays of the watermelon. I still have like half a gallon in the fridge of the juice, because I only have 4 trays and only can do 4 at a time, so the other ones will have to be done another time. In the meantime, I have tons of watermelon rinds to figure out what to do with. Nothing goes to waste. So it can go into compost, it can be chicken feed, it can be worm feed. I looked up what else can you do with watermelon rind, and what I have learned today is that people pickle it, people ferment it, people candy it. It can be made into a cold soup. Knowing that I'm not going to have time to do all that, I hesitate to get into fermenting. I want to get into fermenting because I know it's so much good for you. But the first time I tried it last year, what I ended up getting was something that I thought tasted like hot garbage. So I really like to do like a fermenting class. Something you can go to, something that you can actually, a hands-on thing, because I'm not sure I'm doing it right. So what I'm going to do with all this watermelon rind, I have quite a bit here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it up into small pieces, throw it into my Ninja blender, and then I'm going to pour it into muffin tins and freeze them, and then put them in a freezer bag. And then I can take it out and use it for whatever I want it for. If I need it for worm food, I can just toss it to them. If I need it for chicken, extra chicken fodder, I can do that. If I want to make watermelon candy, which sounds pretty interesting, watermelon rind candy, I can also do that. So I'm going to finish processing this up before I move on to the next thing. This summer I decided to make a worm farm, and I did this for worm castings, which are supposed to be good fertilizer for our soil, and our soil needs good fertilizer. Worm castings can go, 30 pounds of worm castings can cost like $25 at Walmart. I figured I would make an initial investment of a little bit more and then have unlimited worm castings if I didn't kill the worms. So here we are, October 10th, I think, and so far my worms are still alive. Winning! So I just started a rudimentary, I didn't buy a big fancy worm farm. I just did a couple totes, drained some holes, got some, I actually didn't use peat moss or coconut coir to begin with. I just used a little bit of dirt at the bottom, and I just feed them kitchen scraps. And they really like watermelon. So as soon as they start sensing you, they'll start moving down, but they love watermelon. So I've been putting, as we've been eating the watermelon this summer, they've been getting the rinds. So I have some fresh stuff to give them, and I think it's really cool when you come out here and pick it up and you find them. Under that one, they must have, oh, they pretty much cleaned that one out. That's pretty neat. I'll just leave it there to decompose. I add eggshells to this. I crunch up eggshells, got plenty of those. Apparently, like chickens, they need to have grit, and so the eggshells that I grind up provide that for them. I also have some weird things growing in here. I have no idea. That's kind of neat. Anyway, in a couple weeks, I'm going to start a new worm farm. I'll take the worms out. I'll take the worm castings out. I will either bag it up or integrate it into the garden, depending on what the weather is at that point. Maybe do some research to see which would be best. So that's one way of not throwing away anything. I worked so hard to grow that watermelon. The first 5 or 6 watermelons that started growing in the garden this summer, they all ended up getting blossom rot. And it took a while for us to work that out. And then we got probably another 5 or 6 more that did not have blossom rot. So that's what we've been eating. That's what I've been freeze drying. So we've been eating fresh at Sunday dinner and freeze drying the rest so we have watermelon through the winter. The chickens are all anxiously awaiting their treat. They love the watermelon. Another thing you can do with your kitchen scraps when you're trying to homestead, trying to farm, have a little bit of farm animals. I don't know if chickens are considered livestock. I don't think so. But you can make your own dog food. That's something I never thought I would be doing because it's very convenient to go pick up a bag, although it has been gotten expensive. But circumstances changed and I knew I needed to try something. So one of my dogs, Lily, about almost 2 months ago, she was suddenly acting like she had a urinary tract infection. So I took her to the vets and they ran tests on her, and after, let's say about a little over $500, they, after a couple days, told me when all the tests came back that they didn't want to give me any antibiotics for her, which I thought was weird. They didn't want to give them to me right away. And I was thinking she hadn't had one before, but then I was reminded by a Facebook memory actually that she had one. So they didn't want to give me any antibiotics right away. They wanted to wait till the test came back. And the test came back that her liver enzymes were extremely high. Well, I'm a little sensitive towards the liver thing because that's how my mom died of stage 4 liver cancer in May this year. And in December, her blood panel was A-okay. Everything was fine. Some of it probably was showing it was fine because she's on masking it, I should say, because she was on a lot of different other medications, blood pressure, cholesterol, yada yada, but stuff that older people usually go on. I don't know why they don't send them to a nutritionist before putting them on the drugs, because one drug usually causes problems with the other drug or with another symptom or another problem in your body, but that's just what the medical community does. So December, she had nothing wrong with her blood. By March, she wasn't feeling good at the end of February. By March, when she went to the doctors and she had another full blood panel, it was showing that her liver enzymes were off the chart. And then shortly after that, she was diagnosed with liver cancer. And after about 6-7 weeks of me trying to turn things around nutritionally, and along with the drugs that they were wanting to give her and she was wanting to take, she lost the battle and she died at the beginning of May. So when I hear something about liver, I'm super sensitive. I just found out that my aunt passed away this past week, also liver cancer. So Lily's, my dog, her liver enzymes were high. And so these are the options they gave me. I could go take her in for a extreme ultrasound type thing to see if where the cancer is is, just because your liver enzymes are high doesn't necessarily mean that you've got liver cancer. It could mean that there's something else going on. Your liver is your filter, so if your filter gets clogged, it can cause problems to your whole body. I think, you know, if your oil in your car, your oil filter is clogged, your car's not going to work. So these are just some things I've learned, and I'm seeking out to learn even more, because with my aunt and my mom dying, I'm wondering if this is a genetic thing and if we need to be taking, me and mine need to be taking better care of our livers. So the ultrasound was supposed to pinpoint where the cancer is, if there's cancer, and because sometimes they said it's operable. And the ultrasound alone was going to be over $500. And then there was another expensive blood test. I think that was over $300 to confirm whether or not she had cancer. So I had been thinking, you learn stuff, and when you learn stuff, you want to do better, but sometimes your lifestyle, finances does not make it possible. So I've been kind of tottering around with making my own dog food anyway. So I decided to put Lily on a whole foods diet. So that would be a diet that's not dog food, it's people food, acceptable people food. Not all things are acceptable. For instance, the watermelon, I looked up the watermelon rind to see if that's something I could add to her dog food. And it's not toxic, but it will cause gas distress. It could cause diarrhea, it could cause stomach cramping. Nobody wants that. So I'll opt just to give it to the worms and the chickens this time, and do, as I said, puree some up and freeze it, and then maybe make some candy at another time. That way nothing goes to waste. So Lily's been on this whole foods diet, been giving her eggs and sardines and vegetables that are acceptable and not toxic, won't give her gas problems. And I've been doing this for, I think I'm on my 6th week. My plan is in another couple weeks to bring her in, retest her blood, and see where her liver enzymes are at that point. She doesn't act sick. She's a very high-strung dog anyway. She's special. She's wound for sound. She's a stress ball. So, and she's always been like that since the day we got her. And I thought it was just because she was sort of a pup still when we got her, but she just never seemed to grown out of it. So I'm hoping that this is how I can do better for her. I don't really want to just put her on whatever medications that they may recommend, because I know that, I mean, if she has liver cancer, she's going to die of liver cancer. I just want to see if I can do anything to reverse it. Sometimes you can if you catch things early. Sometimes she just needs her liver cleared out, and if she's not getting the dog food that they sell in the grocery stores and in the pet stores, that has been cooked at such a high rate. I mean, they have all this nutrition data on them, and our dog food is the best here and the best there. They cook it at such a high temperature, there's really nothing left of nutrition when it's done. Plus, a lot of their protein sources that they get is not exactly, you know, a cut of beef or a side of chicken. It's what's not consumable by people. So whatever, when the cows go to slaughter or the chickens go to slaughter or whatever, if there's a tumor, they cut that off. That goes in your dog food. So at least I can know what's going in her food and know if I'm doing the best I can for her. So that's just another way you can do it. And I've had to make the time. It's been stressful, and I won't lie. There was 2 days last week that she got kibble because I did not have time to make the food. But I'm trying to do better, and making the dog food is on my agenda for today. Now, I am not confident that I am getting the exact ratios that she needs for her breed, for her size, for her weight, for her age, as far as the protein and what little bit of grains. Not all dogs need grains. The vitamin C, the omegas. I'm not confident that I have that exactly precisely right. So for the time being, I'm not going to do any videos on it. I'm just going to see what happens. If I bring her in and her levels are better, then maybe I'm doing something right. Hey guys, so it's the following week from when I did the put our 5 or 6 watermelon through the food mill to separate the seeds, and I froze the juice, and then I put it into the freeze dryer. That was kind of a colossal failure. When I pulled it out of the freeze dryer, it didn't come out, like, I couldn't cut it like into squares and then break it into bite-sized pieces. It was just powder that just kind of like disintegrated. So I didn't throw it away. I've put it into jars and I vacuum sealed it, and I was thinking it could be like a flavoring for, it could be added to smoothies, it could be a flavoring, or, I mean, if it stays not going bad, I mean, I can give that to the chickens, but for right now I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it. The reason why I had done that is because the watermelon that I grew had seeds in it. The watermelon that I had been buying before we had successful watermelon come out of our garden were seedless, and so they were much more pleasant to eat. So this is what seeded watermelon looks like. So it still tastes fine, but I was getting complaints about the seeds because you get like a Cheeto consistency. You can hear it. I can't really hear it, but like a Cheeto consistency, and then all of a sudden you bite into a seed. And so I was getting complaints about that, and I'm like, well, I'll just take the seeds out. I'll try that. I don't know what it was, whether it removed too much of the fiber from the fruit and so it was just juice, what caused it not to work out, but it didn't work out. I'm now curious if I did that with tomatoes, which is why I had bought the food mill, was to separate the seeds and the tomatoes so we wouldn't have like tons of seeds in our sauces, whether it's pizza sauce, spaghetti sauce, whatever. I'm wondering if I froze the juice of that, if it would be the same type thing where you would end up with like a powder and not chunks that you could then add water to and make juice, or add water and paste to tomato paste to make a sauce. So I may try that next year, but not like 4 trays full. That's what kind of stunk, is there was 4 trays of watermelon juice. So it was a lot of time in there that, and it just didn't come out the way it was planned. So, but the watermelon I think is awesome no matter what, whether it has the seeds or not. And seeds are probably good for you if you eat them on a small scale. I don't know as though watermelon seeds have the arsenic in them, or is it arsenic? Cyanide? I don't know. Something bad for you. But they're very crunchy. And going forward, maybe I will just freeze dry the ones I get from the farm stand that are seedless. Unless I can buy seeds, and I can't wrap my head around this. Buy seeds that grow seedless watermelon. I don't really understand that. So I'll be eating the ones with the seeds. That's it for today. Join us later on this week when we see how we did with our sweet potatoes crop. And I think we'll be working on our compost pile to see if we can make it more efficient again. Be a blessing and be blessed.